All right, it looks like a couple folks are still connecting to audio, so we'll give everyone just a few minutes to join us before we get started. All right, fantastic. Well, it looks like all of our students are connected via audio, so welcome. Thank you guys for joining us today. Can you hear me okay? All right, I see Jesse nodding his head. I see a couple, at least Michael Long, familiar name. Hello, thank you for joining us. So this is just an open platform live Q&A. If you guys have any questions for me, we also have some members of our academic advising teams, our registration teams here to answer any questions that you have about the program live and in real time. So please feel free to unmute your microphones, ask us questions. You're also welcome to type any questions that you have into the chat box. Does anyone have any questions? Can you guys hear me okay? Corey, I see you talking, but I think you're still on mute. Still on mute.
Sorry, I missed the I just joined in. I missed the beginning part. Was it this is a Q&A for forensic medicine? Sorry, I should introduce myself. I'm new to the scene here.
Sure, no
I'm Corey Walden, and I'm an administrative specialist for Dr. Orsini. And so I wasn't exactly sure what this meeting was entailing. If you could just give me a rundown, that'd be great.
Sure, absolutely. This is just really an informal question and answer session. For those of you guys who don't know me, hopefully my students know who I am, and most of the staff does. I'm Dr. Lyra Sutton. I'm the program director for forensic medicine. And this is the first time we're running a live Q&A session like this. So we don't necessarily have expectations of how we want it to go, but now that we are into our second week of the semester, we wanted to open up a platform to give any students that are interested the opportunity to just ask us some questions. And yeah. So does anyone have any questions? Jeffrey, I see you've joined us via camera. Nice to virtually meet you. Jeffrey, Jesse. I see an E. Hello, hello. You guys are welcome to unmute your microphones and talk. You're all automatically muted. So if you have any questions, please do make sure you unmute your microphone. It's going to be on the bottom left of your screen. And you can also press and hold the space bar to temporarily unmute yourself as well.
I'm going to pop in just for a second. My name is Anant Whalen. I think I might have probably dealt with all students here. If I haven't, this is me. And if you have any questions about admissions related stuff, you can still reach out to us through the master's email. So that's masters@dce.ufl.edu. We help students even like in future semesters to get in touch with, for example, financial aid, anything else, any other kinds of problems that you have that are non-academic that have to do with other offices on campus. We can help with that.
And also, I'll introduce myself. I'm Catherine Berry. I'm the person that keeps sending you reminder emails about these orientations and kind of watching to make sure that you receive the first set of messages through our email system, so that as you're being admitted, you are getting the correct information. Dr. Sutton, one of the, I guess I can do a little bit of moderating to maybe help generate some questions.
Sure.
If that would help.
Absolutely.
Okay. So whenever starting the program, what would you say is the number one thing that you see students come to you as far as like a question within the first 2 weeks? They're constant, besides like GatorLink, how do I sign up for email or anything like that? Is there one that you have seen come up quite often as far as usage issues or where to get textbooks, etc.?
Really, a lot of that information, fortunately, is provided in the orientation videos. So I definitely recommend any new students that haven't watched that already to please do watch the orientation video that was sent out. But one of the most common questions that I get from new students in the program is, how do I plan my academic pathway and monitor my progress throughout the program to make sure that I'm getting on track and staying on track towards successful graduation? All students are sent out a course planner document upon admission, and then they are added to a shell within Canvas that is general for the program. And there's an interactive quiz style survey that's ungraded. You can take it as many times as you want. And it lists information on which classes do you think you want to take at which point in your degree. I highly recommend students to take some time within their first semester to think about their long-term plan, to think about what are they hoping to achieve from this program as a whole. Are you already working in the field and you're taking this program to help bolster your credentials and your credibility to have more legitimacy in court? Are you taking it to help open yourself up for promotions in your current career paths? Are you trying to change careers? Are you wanting more specialized education? All of these questions will help you determine a couple different things. One, should you pursue the thesis or the non-thesis track? That's a really big question students need to ask themselves very early on in their progress throughout this degree program. We like for students to declare their intention to pursue a thesis no later than the end of their second semester to make sure that there's ample time to craft a project, to do academic research, and to write and defend a successful thesis document. The thesis track isn't right for everybody, so don't feel a sense of obligation that just because that option exists that you have to do it. It's more common than not that students take the non-thesis track and pursue a lot of additional elective courses. And one of the great things about this program specifically is we've tried to build out a very diverse suite of electives for our students. So you take a class that's within the core curriculum. Let's say you take Principles of Osteology, and you decide, I really like human osteology. I like bones. I like the concept of forensic anthropology. So then you can go on and you can take supplemental electives that will help you better develop your skill set and your knowledge base within forensic anthropology specifically. Maybe you are a crime scene investigator, or you're hoping to obtain a job as a crime scene investigator. Knowing that early on in your degree is going to help you take electives like bloodstain pattern analysis, maybe some of our lab classes that give you very specialized hands-on learning opportunities that you often wouldn't get in traditional academic education. So having those introspective conversations with yourself, what do I want to get out of this program and how do I want to utilize it in my career long term, is very, very helpful to do early on in your degree, and then continue to ask yourself those questions as you move through the rest of the program to make sure your answers stay consistent and you stay on the right path to optimize your future success. I see also that Kat has shared some links in the chat. So one of those is the course planner. So you can download that document. You can complete it as many times as you need. And she's also shared the link to the forensic medicine orientation video. So between those links and the information that is posted on our website, which includes a schedule of courses, so what core classes are offered within each semester throughout the year, and then when the electives are offered, make sure you're checking our website frequently for any updates. Major updates, we will post announcements to all of our students to let you know about anything changing, and we'll also email you as well about dates for lab classes, substantial changes to any of the course schedule. We do our best to make sure you're all aware of all of that information with as much advance notice as possible.
I'm just going to add to that, that you will get your registration emails to your UF emails, not your application emails. So it won't be sent to your personal emails after the semester. They'll all go to your UF email. And within Canvas, you don't necessarily check your UF emails. So that happens a lot of times when it comes down to registering for the next semester, you forget to check your UF email. So I suggest that, set a link on your calendar to check your UF email every 2 weeks. That way you won't miss any important information.
That's great, Anand. And personally, I recommend trying to check your UF email more often than that if you can. There are ways that you can forward your UF email to a personal email address. We can neither encourage nor discourage that, but it is something that exists. So do with that information what you will. But staying in touch with your UF email address is going to make sure that you don't miss any important correspondence, not only from our program specifically, but also from the university in general, from the financial aid office. We all use your UF email address for any official correspondence. So making sure you're staying on top of that and checking it on a regular basis will help make sure that you are staying in the communication loop and not missing out on anything that we're sending, which is all with the intention to help you succeed.
And just to note, if you do forward your email, your UF email, it's important when it comes to registration time. It is very important that you click the link from within your browser, your Outlook client, or anything like that, that it is your UF inbox. The reason is that when you click that link, on our end, it double verifies that it's you, and it has to tie it to the database, because if you just submit without that tie-in, we can't see it. And so it's very important. And the way that we register in these online programs is a bit different than with anyone who is on an on-campus program. You can't go into one UF and just select this course and register for that. You will be receiving a form via your UF email that you will be submitting which courses you would like to have, and you are registered by our staff, because we want to make sure you're in the correct how to place this, the correct section for your specific online program.
And so Rachel Moore is one of our academic advisors. She's also a graduate of our program. So she's a great point of contact to reach out to if you have questions on how to successfully move through this program. Having gone through the program herself, she can offer you a little bit of insider perspective. And there we go. Hi, Rachel. Thanks for joining us. She shared some very important links for course registration information, critical dates. So that's when you need to have your course schedule finalized within each semester, if you need to drop courses or change courses, if you need to make any withdrawal requests. All of those are listed within the critical dates. Student resources, that's how to access technical support, financial aid, anything that might help you navigate some of the more intricate and nuanced aspects of distance education. And then, of course, the general schedule of courses that's posted on our website. And anytime we do make any changes, it will be updated and reflected on our website, as well as emailed out to our students to keep you all in the loop.
Here's another question, Dr. Sutton. As students are planning out their, their coursework, are there any classes in particular where it's very important to take them in a certain sequence?
Absolutely, yes. In a general sense, I highly recommend students, as much as possible within their own timeline for matriculation through the program and graduation, if at all possible, try to have all of your core classes finished before your last semester. We really recommend that in your graduating semester, all that you're taking are your independent study final exam courses, and then a couple of electives. The reason for this is, in order to graduate from the program, you have to complete and pass a comprehensive final exit exam. And that final exit exam assesses material from all of the core classes. Many of our core classes are offered every semester throughout the year, which gives students a lot of flexibility to pick and choose when they're taking their courses. But some of the core classes are only offered once per academic year. That would be principles of osteology, principles of forensic medicine 1 and 2, trauma analysis. Those are only offered once per academic year. So it's really important at the beginning of your degree to go through and see when those courses are offered and plan them in order. some courses do have prerequisites. So if you want to take Forensic Medicine 2, which is a core class, you have to start by taking Forensic Medicine 1. So those of you who are starting in spring semester, you may think Principles of Forensic Medicine 2 is offered this semester. Let me go ahead and start with that. And unfortunately, you can't. You have to take Principles of Forensic Medicine 1 first. If you want to take the elective Applied Osteology, you have to take the core class Principles of Osteology first. All of the information on required and recommended prerequisites is also listed on our website under the courses section. We typically recommend, as far as taking the lab classes, if it's possible, that you are able to take the online version either first or concurrently with the hands-on lab class. That's great. It gives you a really strong foundation, but that's a recommended prerequisite. It's not required. So if you want to take the bloodstain pattern analysis lab or the forensic photography lab or the artifacts of decomposition lab, you are provided instructional material while you're there on campus doing the lab class. So you're not expected to go into this class blind and immediately know how to do all of the activities we're going to work you through during the lab. So those are recommended, some are required. But at the end of the day, if you have questions, we have a phenomenal academic advising team. So as Rachel has shared in the chat, the advising team email address is forensics@ahc.ufl.edu. Please feel free to reach out to them anytime. Please also feel free to copy me on any of your correspondence. I'm going to sound like a broken record by the end of your educational degree. And those of you guys who've worked with me, I see Anant smiling. She knows what I'm about to say. But I sign a lot of my emails, my mass emails to all of the students in the program the same way, which is, please never hesitate to reach out to me. I'm always happy to help. And that I make the joke that I sound like a broken record because I say it so much. But I say it so much because it genuinely is true. I want to hear from my students. I want you guys to reach out to me because I want to help you. I want to see you succeed. And if you're not communicating with me that you need help, you need guidance, you need advice, you need a sounding board, I don't know how to help you. So don't ever feel like you're going to be a burden. Don't ever feel like, oh, I'm going to be a bother. It's a small question. I don't want to reach out. Please send me an email any time of the day or night. I do my best to get back to you within a business day is what I usually strive for. In our course syllabus, we ask for up to 3 business days to reply. But those who've worked with me know I typically try to get back to you as soon as possible, usually within the following business day. But email me anytime that works for you, and I'm more than happy to help and work with you on whatever you need. If it's guidance, if it's, work on a thesis, you have questions about an assignment, you have questions about internships, anything like that, reach out anytime. And myself and my phenomenal team, many of whom are on the call with me today, are more than willing to help.
I have worked at UF for a very long time, and I've worked in the Office of Distance Learning for about 1.5 years now, and I can vouch that this team of faculty actually respond to their emails really fast, like within the day usually.
We really try to. Those of you who have read my bio know I pursued all of my higher education at UF. I earned my doctorate here at UF. And so, as Anant said, I've been at UF a long time. I'm not so far removed from the student experience that I know the student-based anxiety when you're thinking, I have this question, I'm feeling really concerned, and then you're waiting a week or 2 weeks to get a response, and how concerning that can be, and how much higher education anxiety that can cause. And we all really try our best to alleviate that for our students and to make your experience not only educational, but also enjoyable for your time here and to help it benefit you as much as we possibly can.
Dr. Sutton, I had a quick question. Do
Sure.
you offer a forensic anthropology course, or is that through a different program?
So we do. We don't call it forensic anthropology. We call it Principles of Osteology. That's part of our core course, our core curriculum, and that covers the basics of human osteology as it is applied to forensic casework. So that covers, what is the human skeleton? How do you identify it? Exactly, cat, dumb bones. Yeah.
I read an interesting book, Dead Men Do Tell Tales, a long time ago.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
have a signed copy of that on my bookshelf, actually. So the Maple Center for Forensic Medicine, that is, you can see that in Rachel's virtual background there. The Maple Center for Forensic Medicine is the umbrella organization over all of these distance education forensic related programs at UF. Dr. Bird, who's also on the call here, he and I are the co-directors of the Maple Center for Forensic Medicine, which is named in honor of Bill Maples, who actually wrote that book. He founded our forensic anthropology lab here
Wow,
on the
I didn't know
UF.
that. That's very
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
yep. So it's a very small world, but that was Bill Maples. That was Dr. Maples. He founded the forensic anthropology lab that's still in operation today, and for which the Maple Center for Forensic Medicine is named. But that's a great
Yeah.
question. So we offer forensic anthropology as part of our core curriculum. And if you really like it, we do offer a supplemental elective course that is very highly specialized. It teaches you the latest and the greatest methods and applications that's used in forensic anthropology casework. The instructor for that course is one of very few board certified forensic anthropologists, and she works as a practicing forensic anthropologist in her full-time job. She teaches with us just because she likes it. She likes to work with students, and she brings a lot of her active experience into these courses to help students get a very well-rounded educational experience focused on forensic anthropology.
It's a very interesting book. If anybody wants to check it out, even if
Oh, I highly recommend it. If you haven't read it, you definitely should. In that vein, Corey, while you brought that topic up, one of the things we are really proud about our program is our faculty, our staff, and our instructors. None of our instructors, myself included, only teach. We all still engage actively in casework. We work with law enforcement. We still actively work forensic cases. And we always do our best to bring that back into the proverbial virtual classroom for our students. So if there's an area within forensic medicine, within the forensic sciences, that interests any of our students, please reach out to us. Our faculty are very actively involved in the practicing clinical forensic community. And so if you have questions about this, asking for guidance, hey, I want to be a medical examiner. Well, we have a couple board certified forensic anthropologists, board certified forensic pathologists who teach within our program that have gone through that whole process. They can give you their own perspective and their own tips and tricks for how to succeed pursuing a career towards being a medical examiner. So not only reaching out to me, but also reach out to your individual instructors. They teach in these courses not as a full-time job, but because they love education. They believe in working with this next generation of students and giving everyone the benefit of their own individual experience.
Cool. So you mentioned briefly or a couple of times the in-person lab courses. Why would a student who signed up, this is an online program, why is it that we offer these online elective, and might want to just note that they are elective, not core courses? Why would they want to come to Gainesville or Daytona Beach, wherever the location is, to spend a week doing one of these hands-on courses?
Sure. Well, other than the fact that they get to spend a week hanging out with us, that should certainly be enough. But that aside, it's difficult sometimes to effectively teach the principles of forensic medicine in an exclusively online environment. We do our best to do a good job with that by integrating the best practices within the industry, by integrating case studies and showing students, here's how you actually apply what you're learning. But there are some things that you really need to do hands-on. And we like to give students the opportunity to do that if they want the opportunity. As you said, Kat, it's not mandatory. These are electives. And if they want to learn, if this is something that interests them and they want that hands-on experience, we do offer students the opportunity to come and work with us directly and take what they've learned in the online courses, in the online environment, and then apply it in a very direct, very practical, very process-driven way. So one great example is we have the core class, Artifacts of Decomposition. That's one of the classes that I teach. within this program. It's my entire area of specialization is human decomposition, estimation of the postmortem interval. That online class is a very strong standalone foundation course. If you choose to take the lab version of that course, you're going to spend time with us literally out in the middle of a 2,000-acre forest, and we're going to teach you how to locate, document, excavate clandestine graves. What do you do with the material that you find in the graves? Because you will excavate actual remains. You'll be working with those. You'll learn how to assess forensic taphonomy. You're going to actually get to hold specimens and look at them and analyze them. You'll learn forensic entomology and how to collect insects to use for a postmortem interval estimation. So if the concept of dirt and insects and potentially inclement weather doesn't scare you away and you're interested in learning how to do something like that, it's a very unique experience that getting out there and being on your hands and knees, excavating a clandestine grave that you've gone out in the woods, you and your classmates have found where this grave is buried, and you're doing the excavation yourself, that's a tremendously valuable experience for students. We offer these different labs. So we have the Artifacts of Decomposition lab, which focuses heavily on principles of clandestine grave detection, excavation, postmortem interval, entomology, taphonomy. We have a bloodstain pattern analysis lab where you're actually going to get suited up head to toe in Tyvek gloves and booties. You're going to take blood, you're going to sling it on the wall, you're going to use different weapons, you're going to learn how to map a scene with blood evidence, you're going to learn how to explain that evidence in a hypothetical courtroom scenario. In the Principles of Crime Scene Investigation lab, we teach you all sorts of things, how to locate and lift latent fingerprints, how to use an alternate light source. In the Forensic Photography lab, we take you out to a cemetery in the middle of the night and teach you how to use low light photography and how to get amazing quality photos, even in the absolute pitch black darkness. And these are things that we can teach you the principles of them online. We can show you the end result photos, but actually getting out there in the field with the subject matter experts and saying, here's a camera, here's how you need to adjust your settings, here's how you paint with light, and they hand you a flashlight and they hand you a camera and you take the picture. You get in Tyvek and you do the blood slinging in the bloodstain pattern analysis class. You get on the ground in the forest and you do the excavation. It's such a valuable learning experience that really can't fully be replicated in an online environment. So all of that to say, if you have the opportunity to engage in one of our lab classes, we highly recommend it. They're not a full semester long. It's a really, really long week. Typically, they are Monday through Friday. Usually they're 8.5 to 9 hours each day. And by the end of that week, you leave with 3 academic credits. So you get a lot of bang for your buck in experience and time.
Nice. Do any of our students have questions about the labs or any of the coursework?
I do.
Okay.
Sure.
So good afternoon. So I was curious, I was looking on the kind of schedule of classes, and I noticed that those in-person electives, I guess, have yet to be, posted as far as the dates. When typically do you see those kind of come up as far as planning when they're scheduled, I guess, for this coming, calendar year?
Sure. So we always try to schedule them 1 semester in advance. So for the upcoming summer lab, which is going to be the Forensic Photography lab, we will aim to have dates published for that within the next, I'd say, 3 weeks. We're working on scheduling that right now. So once we finalize the availability of our instructor, as well as the availability of the space that we use for it, we post that. We post it on the website, and then we also will email that out directly to our students. So usually 1 semester in advance, we post the dates, the times, and the locations of each of our lab classes. Typically, we only offer 1 lab class per semester because it is very labor intensive, it's very scheduling intensive, and it's often difficult for students to take 2 weeks within a semester and come into Gainesville. They're missing time out of work. But we do try to offer at least 1 every semester on a rotating basis. Sometimes we'll offer 2. It just depends on the scheduling availability.
Okay, sounds good. good. I'll keep my eyes out for that. And then I do have another question, and it was about the final comprehensive exam. I know it's a single unit course, but what does that kind of entail? Because in looking at my kind of planned schedule of courses, I got a couple of my core courses that would be in my essentially last semester or term. So I'm trying to figure out to probably rearrange that to better be successful.
Yeah, I definitely, as much as you're able, I definitely recommend trying to knock out as much of your core curriculum as possible prior to your graduating semester.
Okay.
If you can't, and you there's just no other way that it works for your schedule, let us know that in advance and say, hey, here are a couple different options of classes that I may need to take concurrently with my graduating semester. And we can work with you on advising, maybe this one is better than this other one to take in your last semester. The comprehensive exit exam, there's two different versions. The thesis students will take one version and the non-thesis students will take another. The vast majority of students in this program are on the non-thesis track. So that is a short answer essay style exam, one question associated with each core class. So we have 7 core courses within the program, not counting the final exit exam itself. So there will be 7 individual short answer style questions that you'll take throughout your graduating semester. The way that we have this exam structured is very student and schedule friendly. The exam opens at the beginning of the semester and there's a deadline about 2/3 of the way through the semester. And you can take the exams in any order you want. So you don't have to sit down and take all 7 in the same day. You can take 1 per day. You can do 2 or 3 if you want to do them throughout the course of a weekend. They are timed, but they're short answer. They're very straightforward. None of them are trick questions. It's not asking for hyper specific recall. They're very process driven. It's big picture. And the point of this exam is for you to demonstrate to me that you understand the major take-home messages from every core class. So you may find something like a crime scene scenario, right? You may find that in one of your classes. In the final exit exam, you may be asked to describe some general processes. You may be asked to articulate an example of things like cause, manner, and mechanism of death. Things like that. So it's very general. And as long as you understand the general principles and practices from each core class, the final exit exam is not anything to fear.
Good deal. Well, that's helpful. Thank you.
Sure.
And
And as you get closer, Jesse, sorry to cut you off, Kat, really quickly though, as you get closer, Jesse, if you aren't able to rearrange your schedule because of the way the final exit exam is set up, where each core class has a separate question, I am able to work with you on a little bit of flexibility. If you say, hey, look, I'm taking principles of crime scene investigation in my graduating semester, and I want a little more time, I can extend the deadline for just that one question, a week or 2 if needed. And a lot of times students don't end up needing it and they still do fine, but just communicate with us. That's really the big message here, is just communicate with us, let us know what's going on, and we can advise you on your best options.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
So that brings up a little question I have is for students that maybe they're kind of halfway through or something and they realize, oh, I would like to do a thesis, or oh, thesis track might not be for me. How late in the game can they change tracks, or what might that entail if they do?
Sure. So it depends on which direction they're changing. So if you're on the thesis track and you declare your intention for that early on, and let's say you start off and you get into your thesis and you realize this academic writing thing is not for me. I don't like it. I don't want to do it. You can quit your thesis at any point. There's no obligation to finish it other than your own academic goals. We're not going to force you to complete a thesis. Even if you're in your graduating semester and you realize this is just not for me and I want to change to the non-thesis track, as long as you meet the overall minimum number of credit hours by taking the research hours and at least completing your research, it's okay to transition to the non-thesis track at any point in your degree. Of course, we certainly recommend not waiting till your last semester. If you're not planning to do the thesis, enrolling in thesis hours doesn't make sense. Take an elective class instead. So don't be afraid to tell us, hey, I started it and it's not for me. There's absolutely no shame in that. Know what works better for you and just let us know and we can make that change. On the flip side of that, if you start off on the non-thesis track and then you realize, oh, here's an area that I'm interested in and I want to do more research in, and I might want to do a thesis, there is a time limit on that. We typically require that students declare their intention to pursue a thesis by the end of their second semester. And we typically then ask for them to start the literature review portion of their thesis by taking the 6905 Lit Survey class in their third semester, which then gives them a minimum of 2 subsequent semesters to finish their thesis. The general rule of thumb is you need no less than 3 full semesters to dedicate to your thesis. 1 full semester is going to be your lit review, so that's the 6905 hours. And within that, you're going to develop a topic, develop a proposal, write an outline, and then write at a minimum your introduction. The next semester, you're going to start the bulk of your research. That's whether that's data collection or additional literature aggregation, depending on the type of study that you're wanting to assess. And then in your final semester, so that would be the 3rd full semester, you put the finishing touches on your thesis document, you defend it to your committee, and then you ideally will successfully graduate. So there's a little bit of wiggle room if you are willing to extend an additional semester. Say you're in your 3rd semester and you say, I really want to do a thesis. I have decided I want to pursue a PhD, and I feel like I need a thesis for that. Understanding that we request and we require a minimum of 3 full semesters to separate out your thesis work, there is an option. It's not ideal. We don't want a thesis to be rushed. We don't want a student to do subpar work or research on their thesis by trying to race against the clock. But if you look into it and you say, I'm willing to dedicate 3 additional semesters, start to finish, then we are able to work with you on pursuing that goal.
Anat, you're on mute.
Yes. Dr. Sutton, since students are not necessarily enrolled full-time and some students might only have taken 2 courses by the end of their 2nd semester and might not be consecutive semesters, would you say that it's better also to consider how many courses they've taken before, that switch happens? Like, should they be less than halfway through the program?
Absolutely. Every student is unique, and that's one of the assets of distance education, but that's also one of the challenges, is there isn't really a cookie cutter format that every student can follow for success. We like to tailor a student's experience to what meets their own individual needs. Certainly, I would say don't make any changes to your track to start a thesis if you're already more than halfway through, because you're going to have to extend your time in the program so much longer in order to complete the thesis that it's often not realistic for people. Sometimes people, they get halfway through and they realize, I want to get a PhD and I want to do this. And we tell them, all right, you understand that you only have maybe 12 credit hours left. And in order to do this, you're going to need 3 separate semesters. As long as they understand that and they agree to that, we are in many cases willing to work with you. I don't want to make a blanket statement that says, yes, we can do this, because it is going to be on a case-by-case basis. We have to approve your proposal, we have to do a degree audit, and we also have to make sure that you meet the current criteria to be on the thesis track. Posted on our website on the thesis or non-thesis section is a lot of information about helping students figure out which track is more appropriate for them and what your overall course structure will look like depending on which track you're on. And at the bottom of that page, we list out eligibility criteria. And I see that Rachel has linked that in the chat. On the bottom of that, it says you have to maintain a certain GPA standard because completing a thesis is a very rigorous academic endeavor. So if you have not gotten a grade of B or better on most of your courses, you've gotten some C's, you've gotten some D's, maybe you've failed some courses. If you've taken numerous incompletes or you have withdrawn from courses mid-semester, all of those make you academically ineligible to remain on the thesis track. Because it is, and Rachel has also just shared that criteria as well. So having a strong academic standing where your GPA is 3.0 or higher, no incompletes or pending withdrawals. Now, when I say pending withdrawals, we understand sometimes medical emergencies come up. Maybe you got in a car accident, you had to have surgery, you got COVID, and you have to medically withdraw. That's a different situation. And when you satisfy a withdrawal from, a medical situation, that's not what we mean by this. Pending withdrawals is, I've realized I'm going to fail this class and I want to drop it so I don't get a failing grade, right? That doesn't make you a good candidate for the thesis track. So as long as you maintain all of your eligibility criteria, you are able to enter and then stay on the thesis track. We also make sure that there's no record of academic or professional disciplinary action. So if you have been written up by the Dean of Students Office for issues of plagiarism or academic dishonesty, that also disqualifies you for the thesis track. We don't run into a lot of that, but we do post this because this is program-wide eligibility criteria.
And I just want to make a note that since we're talking about medical withdrawals and other reasons for having to do that for coursework, everybody also runs into, okay, life just got really busy one semester to the next. So you don't necessarily have to enroll in a course each semester. It does change your academic plan. But if you go more than 2 consecutive semesters without enrolling in a class, you will have to apply for readmission to the program. And that is found on the website here. And I hope no one in here would have to do this, but it does happen. But
Sure.
It is very, very important that you keep contact with your advisor if these situations do arise.
Absolutely, Kat, that's a great point. And really bringing up, to reiterate what you just mentioned, the take-home message of this entire Q&A session so far is highlighting communication. We are more than willing to work with our students no matter what comes up. We are willing to give you advice. We're willing to help you figure out your specific academic plan, but that requires open communication on both ends. We are happy to work with you to the best of our abilities and resources, but we need you guys to let us know what you need, what's going on, and the sooner you communicate things to us, the better we are able to help you. If we're not rushing and racing against deadlines, trying to push things at the last minute, we're able to provide you much better help than if we're waiting till the very end of the semester and trying to get something taken care of. So just communicate with us. There's no shame in asking for help, and we're always happy to help.
So this is Michael Long. I have a question. If we take an on-site course and online courses in the same semester, how does the on-site affect the deadlines for the online courses?
So typically we fortunately haven't run into too many issues with the on-site, on-campus, hands-on lab classes causing problems with the online, because we do have all of our modules open for 2 weeks. So there is a minimum of a 1-week overlap between every module's assignment. Given that the lab classes are only 1 week long, the modules that maybe due the week of the lab class will have been open for 2 weeks prior. Anything that opens during the week of the lab class, you'll have an additional week after to work on. So we have that week-long overlap on either end. That said, all of the instructors in the program are very well aware of the lab classes and they're very supportive of them. So I have not had so far any issues if a student says, look, I'm exhausted from traveling. I don't want to get behind. I did this lab class, can I have a few days extension? 100% of the time they have reached out to the instructor of the class in question, copied me on that email saying, hey, this Dr. Sutton said to do this. And we have always been able to work out something that meets the needs of the student, but continues on with the structural integrity of the course and not getting you too far behind in any way. So again, just communicate with us. Let us know what you need and what your deadlines are, and we will always do our best to work with you to make sure you stay on top of everything and you don't get behind. Does that answer your question?
Yes,
Thank you, Sean.
but it does look like one way or another, you're jammed up for the week before or the week after.
Yes, I mean, and that's just the reality. Yeah, you're completely right. That's the reality of a lab class is you are actively doing hands-on activities that full week. So either you're working ahead or you're working twice as hard when you get back. And I understand that can put a stress and a strain on students. Some students can work it out because, sometimes you may, and I know, Michael, we've corresponded, you have a very strong academic background. So I think you would very much be the type of student, you could do a little bit of both. You could work a little bit ahead, get about halfway through, focus on the lab class, finish up the week when you're back, and mostly stay on track. But again, just communicate with your instructor, communicate with me, whoever the instructor of the lab class is and the instructor of the online class. We're all a team. Everybody works together. All of the instructors know each other. We're a great group, and we always want to see each other's students succeed. It's not this territorial situation of, well, I don't want your work in my class to suffer because you took Dr. Sutton's lab. You're not going to experience that. So just let your instructors know what your concerns are, what you need, what you think works for you, and we will always be able to work out something that meets your needs.
Do you have any thoughts on what the lab class will be for fall semester?
Fall semester, yes, I highly recommend the one for fall. That is the lab class that Dr. Bird, also on this call, and I teach together. That is the Artifacts of Decomposition lab. We typically run it in late October, early November. We don't want you out in the July, August heat. We try not to cause medical emergencies for our students due to heat stroke and dehydration. So we try to do it a little bit later in the fall, but that's the clandestine gravesite excavation lab. We do always run that one in fall, and it's a great class. It's very hands-on, very immersive. It's a very unique experience.
Are there any vaccination requirements?
Anant? That's a you question.
I'm not sure because they're registered only for 1 week. I am not sure. I can check and get back to you.
I'm just curious. If there are, I'll take them, but I just was curious about it.
Sometimes. Sorry.
I'm putting that into the vaccination information into the chat.
In the past, the vaccination requirements have always been waived for our CE and our lab students coming into campus because they're not actually on campus.
That's what I was just about to mention is historically, they have waived the vaccination requirements. I don't want to go on record saying, yes, absolutely, we waive the vaccination requirements, because that can change based on University of Florida regulations. But we do let our students know ahead of them registering for that lab class if there are any specific requirements. But as Dr. Bird said in the past, they've been waived. We would hope and expect that would be the case going forward, but we'll let you know if any of that changes.
Are you guys specifically talking about COVID-19 or just in general, all kinds of vaccinations?
This is the standard, like basically the UF campus. It's MMR, those sort of vaccines.
So that's usually waived for all on-campus, distance learning programs. But I would think that if anyone was taking a course where they were digging in the dirt, they should at least have a current tetanus vaccination just for their own safety.
Sure.
Not to pass out medical advice, but just common sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just about to link that same page, Kat, the health compliance.
Sure.
So, let me get back to what I was about to ask, because anytime we go down that route, Dr. Sutton, in taking to kind of piggyback on what Michael was asking, as people are looking at their schedules, and generally we recommend core course, elective course, for a total of 6 credits, give or take, depending on which core course you're taking. But if it looks like a student needs to take 2 core courses in a semester, is there a particular combination that might be a little bit difficult to manage without care for how much time?
Yes. The fall semester is going to be the most difficult one. So if you are trying to take trauma analysis, which is a core course with any other core course in the program, make sure you have a lot of time to dedicate to it. I will go ahead and go on record and say that trauma analysis is one of our most difficult courses in the program, but it's designed that way intentionally. Trauma analysis is designed like a traditional high-level med school class because it is very analysis and interpretation driven. It's not the class where you're going to go through in your module notes or your textbook, you're going to highlight something and see it verbatim on a quiz. You're going to take the modules, you're going to have to do supplemental textbook reading, and then you're going to have to take both of those and synthesize them with your own understanding to interpret the types of questions and materials that are presented to you in the quizzes and the assignments. Sometimes that's a little bit difficult for students because it's a departure from the traditional style of academic online learning, but it's so critical to success in a forensic medicine career because students are going to be asked to have these very subjective interpretations when they're doing forensic casework. So we try to give students at least a little bit of a taste of that with the trauma analysis course. And so we do tell students, this is a difficult course. We know it's a difficult course. Make sure you allocate time for that and maybe take a simpler core course, a simpler elective, something that's maybe a little more within your wheelhouse that you're more familiar with, you're more comfortable with, so that you can allocate ample time to study and succeed in that course.
So like maybe would you say a good combination if you have to, for whatever reason, combine it with another core course, something like communication skills and forensic context? Would that be a good combo?
Sure, that's a great combination. Also, artifacts of decomposition, that's an 8-module core class instead of a 10-module core class. So you have a little bit more flexibility and a little bit more downtime in between your module assignments. So I definitely recommend if you're taking a heavier course load where you have to take 2 core classes, seek out one of the core classes that's an 8-module instead of a 10-module to give yourself a little bit more breathing room in your assignments.
Right. And if you go, as we've linked to the coursework, if you look on any of those course pages on our website, it does list out what the modules are. So you can have that information as you make your decision on your schedule.
Sure. And again, I want to highlight communication. If you're putting together a course plan for an upcoming semester and you think, oh, this might be a little bit heavy, just send us an email. Say, hey, I'm thinking about taking these 3 courses. 2 of them are core, 1 of them is an elective. Do you think this is reasonable? And we can get some information. Hey, what's your workload? Do you have, young children that are going to require a lot of your time and attention? Are you working a full-time job? Are you in the process of moving? Or are you experiencing any of these outside of your academic life, real world situations that might be factors that we need to consider? And then we can give you guidance on what we think is reasonable and what we think is attainable from our experience working with students in similar situations.
Well, we are coming up on time. So I was just wanting to see, are there any other questions from our students? Okay. And so Dr. Sutton, do you have any parting thoughts?
I just thank you for joining us, and I hope this has been helpful. I think maybe we'll post the recording somewhere. It will be emailed out to students. So really, I just want to leave you guys with the final words. You'll get to feel me already being a broken record today. Please reach out. Please communicate. I'm going to continue to say it for your entire time together in this program. Reach out to us. Let us know what you need. Let us know how things are going. Give us feedback, good, bad, or otherwise. Often students only want to reach out to us when they're having a problem and things are going bad. And of course, that's valuable. We want to know that. But if things are going well and you're enjoying your experience and you have any kind of feedback for us, please let us know, because we want to do everything we can to optimize the student experience, to make sure that you are getting the most out of this program you possibly can, not only with what you're learning, but being part of this forensic medicine family that we try to build. We all want to work together as a team to help you succeed. So communicate with us, reach out anytime, let us know what you need, and we'll work with you to try to help.
Right, thank you. And thank you, everybody who was able to join.
Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, you too.
Bye-bye.